Hello, this is Chris Ott, and this is part 14 of this series, What Did Mayor Baba Really Teach? And now, the original title that I was going to use for this video series was What Did Mayor Baba Really Teach, and Why Does It Matter? But I thought that was a little long of a title, so I decided to shorten it. But it still remains. I've gone over some of the teachings that are misunderstood and clarified them. And if I go on with this series, I may do a few more because some others come to mind, some misunderstandings that are not too hard to show what he really taught. But this is a good place to pause and address that second part of the original title, which is, why does this matter? What difference does it make? Why can't we just enjoy, these incorrect teachings, incorrect interpretations of his teaching? Well, why is this teaching of value? What's good about it? Who's it going to help? Well, in my opinion, there's an enormous amount of potential for it to help a lot of people. And I want to talk about that. I'm not sure I can convince the listener of that, but I'm going to say why I think that. And I also think that by misunderstanding him, his entire life is the potential that it has to be a game changer from his teaching to get people thinking a whole different way, as he said, for him to bring about a revolution in man's thinking, the slowest of all revolutions. For him to have that revolutionary effect, that could be a great thing, but it's being squandered. So it's like lost opportunity. And I think that even if people don't agree with what I've said that he taught with his teaching, I think they'll agree that no teaching should just go lost. They should be considered. And that's by philosophers and just regular people, because maybe there's something in it that is of value. And I think there's a lot in it. And I'll say a little of what that is. First of all, when an avatar, Baba says he's one of the avatars. He's the avatar of this age. And you can look up the word avatar. He means it in its Vedantic sense, its Hindu sense, essentially. Although he means it quite... I won't go into that. He says he's the avatar. Other avatars, he names other avatars, like Zoroaster and Muhammad and Jesus and Buddha, Ram and Krishna. But if we take the more modern ones of those that we know more about, there were issues at the time that were helped by the teachings of those prophets, and as we know, there were problems in Judaism at the time of Jesus. They were being very arrogant, very rule-oriented, but it was full of hypocrisy. And Jesus revitalized the spirit of Moses, in a sense, the original spirit of it, and made it spiritual again, and in Christianity. And so it's essentially not just a wiping out of the past and replacing it. It's sort of a revitalization of bringing new life to the old. And that's what Baba said he wants to do, by the way. A lot of Baba's teaching is a different spin on an old teaching. Okay, so now also when an avatar comes, there is kind of it's like Baba says, the energy has been lost of the old modes, and so that's the need for the revitalization. Well, right now there is a loss of energy. We're living in a time that's known as postmodernism. And postmodernism, it means after the modern era of the Enlightenment, or it's also called the post-Enlightenment. The Enlightenment was a very enthusiastic time in the 1600s and 1700s, where people felt that they could get at the truth by using reason and by dispelling superstition. But the project essentially, although it had a lot of inspiring systems and so forth that they created, it was mostly viewed as a failure by the end. Especially in the 20th century, they look back upon that time as a time that a bunch of useless systems were made. And we're not going to make systems anymore because they never really work. And one of the things that they were never able to solve was the mind-body problem I've talked about so much. So, to describe the 20th century that Meher Baba was born into, he was born in 1894, right before the beginning of the 20th century, you have philosophers who are no longer think that truth is, more and more there's relativism, there's nihilism, there's a belief that truth isn't even possible, that everybody has their own truth is a new thing that's going around now. Or there was just a reductive materialism that didn't really work as a theory. It was more like a programmatic thing where we just didn't want to look at anything else. We just somehow things are material, but we can't even explain what we mean by that. And we certainly can't create a theory for how the world formed out of matter, because we can't even perceive matter. Remember, we only perceive our own experience. And we can't explain our experience, by the way. That's a fact. That's called the problem of consciousness. We can't explain how it is that we're capable of being aware. Okay? How do machine parts come together to suddenly become, self-aware, experiencers? Well, nobody knows. There's not even a theory for it. So, the world was kind of in a crisis. Now, while we got new theories to replace old biblical ones and myths, we got the idea of Darwinism and psychoanalysis about the mind, and we got the Big Bang for the formation of the world. Nobody buys any of those anymore. I mean, in the 1800s, people would have been excited about Darwinism and the Big Bang theory, and the Big Bang theory is 20th century, but nobody believes the Big Bang theory. I mean, you may have gone to college and you have to give lip service to believing these things in order to become part of the kind of the elite educated club. But regular people, and I don't just mean dumb, uneducated people, I mean really, really smart people, but that have never made that sacrifice of their own natural intuitions, don't believe that thing. Don't believe that. While they don't believe that the world was created in 6 days by God, a kind of reified God on a cloud, they do think that Darwin's theory isn't any better. It's the idea that everything came about because of a bunch of freak accidents. Nobody really buys that. Even scientists find that that's just beyond plausibility when you look at the details of the universe. Just take any little part of it and look into it, and there's too much there's too much symmetry for it to just be accidents. It just buggers the imagination that it could be that way. And the Big Bang doesn't make any sense at all. It's completely self-contradictory. I said, there can't really be an original point in space, because you would have to, a point. You see, the Big Bang theory is the idea that space came out of a point. Well, then where was the point? See, it's self-contradictory. So Baba answers all these in a new way, and that's what's important. Now, another thing is that a lot of people today openly talk about the fact that they believe that we live in some kind of holographic universe, or some kind of computer game, some kind of virtual reality. This started in the early 20th century. It got popular because of quantum mechanics, which, by the way, nobody buys that either, the quantum mechanics stuff. But they do buy that the world is an illusion. And I was going to mention that there are a lot of, I listen to a lot of guys that vlog. They walk around and they talk, or they sit like me, and they give talks, and they're intellectuals, and they're very eccentric and very much self-made people. But all of them agree that the world is not real. Jeff Berwick is one I enjoy. Max Egan, David Icke. All these people say the world is an illusion. They also believe we're all one. And they even use words like Baba's, where there's this one consciousness, and we're all in that consciousness having a personal experience, an individual experience, even though we're all really this one source of consciousness. Okay, they use the word consciousness in kind of this broad sense, which is fine. They kind of use it, just very broadly. That's fine. So what Baba's brought is really, actually, when understood, far more intuitive and far more plausible to the mind, believable, than the theories that we've tried to come up with on our own. Just like Theosophy was trying to answer spiritual questions in the days of Spiritism, talking to the dead initially. They thought they were going to get answers, and so they did their best. But nobody buys that anymore. Some of the Baba followers do, but they're kind of out of touch, so they're old. Young people are not into Theosophy. Young people don't buy most of this stuff. They're kind of in a desperate state. They don't even know whether reason is a legitimate thing, because isn't using our human intuitions to be rational, isn't that awfully anthropogenic, like the idea that everything comes from the human mind, like it's a very anthropomorphic epistemology. Well, that's because within us is this God which is rational. Okay, that's how ancients in the Middle Ages would have immediately seen that, but today we've lost that. So Baba gives us this back, and there's a lot more I could say about this, all these topics, but I just wanted to just touch on how Baba could give a teaching that would fill this vacuum that we're in, that many people don't even know we're in. And we're coming into a new world, and if you follow geopolitics, you may know that the unipolar world is giving way to a multipolar world, and there's a lot of hope about it. But there's not a lot of clarity on where we're going to go intellectually after that. A way that a system of belief that has positive ethical fruit. Just reviving old ideas, which isn't a bad thing, but for some people it's not enough. There needs to be like a new interpretation of the old spiritual intuitions that we always had. We need to sort of reframe them, and I think Baba has done that. And whether he just did that in meditation, as a thinker, as a kind of something to give man to hold on to, or whether he's describing a vision of reality, which is actually what I believe, is up to the person studying his work. They can make up their own mind. But I think that if they look into it, these talks that I'm giving here so far haven't really even done justice to what he covers, because it just, there's Baba's biography, for instance, which is like 20 volumes, and he's written, and his books are, I wouldn't say they're extremely long, but there's whole magazines with quotes from him, and they have tons of letters and everything. He had left a large body of work, and I'm hoping that people will delve into that in the future. It's been well preserved, by the way, in all kinds of archives. And anyway, that was my first try at answering the question, why does it matter? All right, thank you very much. I hope this was helpful. I may do it again. It's a very hard thing to express without going down every single rat hole to have to go into what I mean and the history of that topic. Okay, thank you very much. I will see you in part 15. Bye-bye.